There's a lot of scanners coming out. The scanners are getting faster. And so now that big question mark is, how do we make it more beneficial to more people and easier to use?
You need to have a mindset of where you plan on going with it and what you want to scan.
So to now see companies start moving to that next step of, let's figure out how to start pulling them into one company or one system or one platform and make the data more usable. And it's exciting to see where that will continue to grow on the journey.
Using these side-by-side view, you can actually see what's behind it, and you can see it in the full context of the current situation. You can add color to any one of your scan profiles. Now I know exactly where that is, and when I run my analysis, I can come back time and time again and do repeat analysis to make sure the work has been fixed.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are joining us from today. Thanks for jumping in. I see we just got launched, and we got some people joining the room here, joining the webinar today. We're excited to be talking with you. And while we let some more people join in, if you guys want, we do have the chat box at the bottom as well as the Q&A box. So one, you're welcome to use the chat box if you want to maybe even throw in there where you're joining us from today. You could throw that in. And then if you have questions throughout the webinar, I would prefer that you actually use the Q&A box instead of putting the questions in the chat panel. That will help us be able to identify actual questions as opposed to just chat. So thanks again for joining us. Feel free to use that chat box. Let us know where you're joining from today, and then we will get started here in just a couple minutes. I've got Mr. Kyle with Faro Technologies with us today. Kyle, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Matt.
I think there are many people that are excited to hear about Faro Technologies. Obviously, we've had quite a few people sign up. I've seen some good interactions on social, and I think everyone in the industry is always interested to hear what's happening out there. You know, we have a lot of companies advancing technologies. We've got, I know with Ferro, there's been a couple new companies merged in and acquired. And so really excited to dig in with you today and kind of take us through your roadmap a bit. And thanks everybody again for joining us. We'll go ahead and start rolling. So Kyle, would love to just have you do an introduction for yourself. And for those that are not familiar with Ferro, maybe just a little background.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Matt said, my name's Kyle Tarr, Senior Business Development Manager here at Ferro. Ferro as a company has been around for more than 40 years. We have really three main segments that we focus on. One is the AEC market, where I do all my work. But we also have metrology for manufacturing division, as well as public safety. So kind of a wide range of things that we do in reality capture. We have equipment that will go down to very, very, very tight tolerances for the metrology stuff. Like our scan arms that maybe many of you have seen before, but then all the way up to our scanners and things that we use more traditionally in the construction environment that maybe doesn't need down to the 10th of a millimeter accuracy, because that's a little bit overkill on a job site. So I'm a part of the Building Insights division here, like I said, within the AEC segment. And we are really hyper-focused on what you do with the data after you've collected it. Because I've said it before on other calls, and nobody needs a whole bunch of data just building up on their hard drive. I've got a lot of data myself, but you've got to be able to do something with it. So we've actually kind of split the company in a way that allows us to focus directly on what you do with that data, and we call it Building Insights. Today, I'm going to be going over a bunch of the stuff, and Matt, you already talked about some acquisitions we've had in the last 6 months to a year. And we're going to go over several of them because they are really great additions to our portfolio and how the whole workflow works in general. But
yeah,
and I'll just quick about myself. I come from the general contracting field myself, so I was raised in a construction family, went and joined, I was with Suffolk Construction for quite a while. I was MEP project manager with them, built high-rise condos, hotels. So the majority of my experience comes from the really big commercial construction projects and high-rises. So you'll definitely notice that throughout this presentation, I tend to focus on things that relate to the general contracting side, especially since I went and got my own GC license while I was with them, and that's the majority of my experience. So
that's great, and that's it's one of the things that is so exciting about all these technologies in whole is that they are a tool and they can be used in so many different industries for so many different applications. And I like, what you're talking about now, the focus on how do we really utilize the data. There's a lot of scanners coming out. The scanners are getting faster. And so now that big question mark is how do we make it more beneficial to more people and easier to use? So that's great. Well, we look forward to kind of going through with you. Again, everyone that is joined us live, if you have questions throughout the webinar today, feel free to throw them in the Q&A panel. Some of them I may pop in and ask as we go through slides, and some of them we may save toward the end. But we're looking forward to walking through, Kyle.
Great. So we'll get going here. All right. So I do want to just start off kind of very broad spectrum of, what is the reality capture process and the different parts of it, because there are different areas that we like to focus, and you can really have a different view on all of these. So really what it looks like is you have to be able to identify what it is you want to scan. So if you're in commercial construction, you may be scanning mechanical rooms. It might be structural steel. You need to have a mindset of where you plan on going with it and what you want to scan. So also, if you do new construction versus renovations, could make a big difference in what you have available or what tool is really best for you. So things like that, you want to identify what your real need is early on. And then you're going to move on to start thinking about your capture method. We all have in our pockets our cell phones, and probably the most basic form of what reality capture is a 2D photo, right? There's so much limitation to that though. It works, for a lot of cases, but we can do so much better moving into 360-degree photos, as well as point clouds, which both of those are where we're going to focus today, and how we can actually bring them together. Now, just because you're focusing on what you want to scan or what you want to actually capture and what you want to get out of it or the tools you want to use, you can't lose sight of what results you really want to get. I feel like I talk with a lot of users throughout the industry, and they see this technology and they want to get into it, and they know that there's value there, but maybe don't have the direct line of sight into what is that final deliverable of what they want to deliver. So results in our case could be something as simple as a measurement. Do you need to be able to get a measurement of something that is maybe even not very accessible? Maybe it's in a dangerous location. You can't get a person in there. So maybe using a laser scanner is a better option. Doing analysis like we're showing here, our floor flatness and wall plumbness analysis that we can use in our software. Great tool, and I'll get into that a whole lot more later in this presentation. But finally, a lot of people like to do the scan to BIM workflow, documenting existing conditions and then turning that into a real usable model for moving on into a digital twin kind of environment for facility management and future renovations. So having the actual BIM model versus the point cloud that's in the raw form could be a real big advantage. So these are the things you really want to think of and keep in mind while you're looking at the different devices or collecting your data, and then what you want to do with it. Something that you will hear a lot from us moving forward, and it has been for the last several months really, is that the time to consumption is the key to any collection process and any workflow that you're going to be working on. What I mean by that is you can really break up this whole process into collection and consumption. So collection being why you're on site, what equipment are you using, and what methods are you using to collect data. It could be something as simple as a few $100 360 camera, or it could be a much more expensive tripod-based laser scanner. These all have different costs associated with them, and they also have very different timelines associated with them as far as how long you need to spend on site to collect that data. On the back end, a lot of times we consider this to be, BDC professional work, the BIM manager's work. It's the consumption side. But we really want to be able to democratize that, make it so that project managers out on the job site, facilities managers, owners, superintendents, and foremen, everybody should be able to have access to this information that's collected and actually make use of it. I think back in the day when I was on a job site every day, every couple hours, I had a superintendent come into my trailer and say, hey, can you pull up the BIM model, or can you pull up the point cloud and show me or pull a measurement from this? Those days are gone. We're at a point now where everybody has the ability to actually go in and use the point cloud data in conjunction with the VDC efforts. So you'll see this slide again later, but just keep this in mind. Collection, consumption, and it doesn't matter if it takes 5 seconds to collect, but then 6 months to actually consume it. It's the entire timeline that really makes a difference. So we have a lot of different collection devices, our hardware here. And truth be told, we all know that each one of these has advantages and disadvantages, the price differences, and of course, accuracy is a big one as well, and time. So I like to think of this as like, well, is one of these methods enough? A lot of times I hear, well, what is the one piece of equipment that I need to be using? The realistic answer is, for different purposes, different needs, you should probably be using multiple of these. I like to even think of if I had the luxury on a job site to have each one of these pieces of equipment at my to be able to use, where would I use each of these? Well, so the very first one that I'm going to start with on a brand new project, when I come out to an empty field where I'm going to build my new hotel, I want to do a site survey so that I can actually do some cut and fill analysis, maybe do some logistics planning, figure out how much room I have between roadways and adjacent buildings. And for something like that, I would definitely use our GeoSLAM. It's the orange handheld scanner in the middle of the screen. This one's great for fast capture, fairly accurate, and is really a great tool for this logistics planning at this phase. Then, of course, moving through construction after you are about to pour your first slab, what is it that you want to actually document before you pour concrete over it and then hide everything that you just put in there, all that rebar, all the post-tension cables, all of your embeds, plumbing sleeves, embeds and blockouts, all of these things, they go in the slab. And then once you pour that concrete, it's not so easy to track down exactly where it is. So I always recommend before every slab using a focus scanner to get a good high quality scan of each of your pre-pour conditions. So you can actually go back, measure exactly how far from an object a post-tension cable is, for instance. So in the event of having to go back and core another hole through that slab, which none of us want to do, but we've all done it. Having this data allows you to make a much better decision, much safer decision about where to core, opposed to traditional methods like the GPR that we've used before too. So, and then of course, as construction keeps going, doing progress photos every Friday is what I like to say. Use the 360 camera and collect a photo. It keeps everybody on the same page as far as where construction's at, from the owner to the architect. And it's great to have a good, consistent basis for those. In the event that maybe you might have a small area, like a small electrical room, that you maybe weren't able to get access to at the time you had your focus scanner on site, using the iPhone scanner with our Sitescape app is a great option to fill in the gaps, and we'll go into that more on a dedicated slide for that.
Yeah, I'll say one thing I like hearing, and just even seeing this time that in the industry we now have somebody like Faro that is taking multiple different types of hardware and starting to realize and see, like, okay, the phone is great for this, the 360 camera is great for this, the terrestrial is great for this. Well, it still feels like some of the technologies, the Wild West, where they all have their ecosystem and sometimes they don't talk to each other. And so to now see companies start moving to that next step of let's figure out how to start pulling them into one company or one system or one platform and make the data more usable. And it's exciting to see where that will continue to grow on the journey.
And yeah, it's a great point. We'll really dig into that with our ecosystem because it has been such a focus. We don't want to keep everything silent. We want to be able to have one source of truth that everybody is comfortable using, and it's not so intimidating that it has to be some specialized role to use it. So that's where we're headed with this, and we've made some great progress here in the last six months and a year to get towards that. So let's just talk a little bit more detail about these 4 different main collection methods. Of course, we've already mentioned the 360 photos. So if you're not familiar with the 360 photos in our HoloBuilder platform, the way this works is using one of these inexpensive 360 photos, you're able to collect very quick photos, and they are going to be placed directly onto your floor plan. It will track where you are as you walk through your job site. So much more useful, in my opinion, than a 2D photo that falls, just stays on your iPhone and then doesn't get shared out anywhere, doesn't have location data associated with it, and doesn't have versioning. But with our 360 photos, you can have a history and a whole timeline of your progress. The iPhone LiDAR, when you see iPhone LiDAR here, what I'm referring to is the iPhone Pros that have LiDAR-enabled features. They allow us, with our Sitescape app, to do very quick 3D scans, pull measurements, and you don't need any special training or any extra hardware. So very cool tool. One of the newer, I'd say, innovations and more accessible products that we have right now. We also have the mobile scanning, the GeoSLAM, which, as Matt had mentioned earlier, this is an acquisition that we had last year that is being pulled in entirely into our ecosystem. So the scans that come out of this scanner are 100% compatible with our software, as well as our other scanners. They can all be registered together. And they're fairly accurate. It does say inch level accuracy here, but I'll say it will get even better than that. Inch level is probably not quite as accurate as you would normally get. That would be for a very, very large area. So, and then of course our Focus Premium Scanner. Last year was when this came out. We have made continual improvements on it ever since its release last year, and this is going to be kind of our flagship scanner, the most accurate, and you're able to get the most accurate analysis out of it. So we'll dig into each of these a little more. Now with the 360 photos, the great thing is it's just so easy to pick up. It's not intimidating. I was the guy on the job site that we had a scanner on site, and I was told it was $100,000 and create, all that. And the issue with that is everybody was scared to pick it up and go use it. Of course, the price for that stuff has come down dramatically now, but it's much more approachable for these 360 photos for product engineers on a job site, architects, anybody. Pick them up and go do some progress documentation. So, as I mentioned already, I think the best time to use 360 photos is actually on a recurring day. So, every Friday is what I always used to do. It keeps a nice timeline of your progress. It allows for a really good rhythm throughout progress as you're going. It syncs well with your progress payments as well. So I like to say pick a day and do your progress photos there. Another option, if it's not just a Friday that you want to call, I think a great option as well is to do it the same morning as your owner's meetings. If you have a big reoccurring weekly, on the construction side, we call it an OAC meeting. And that is the perfect time to go out, do some progress capture, get up-to-date photos the morning before that. And now you can actually review the progress with the architects, with the engineers, with your owner, and really convey exactly where progress is sitting. Sometimes it might be a great way to resolve those RFIs that have been, lingering out there, and you need the architect to really see that progress is caught up to it and an answer is needed. Or maybe it'll help actually resolve the RFI altogether. So the continual job site progress is great, but it also allows remote job site access, because with HoloBuilder, all you need is an internet connection and a web browser, and you can log in and you can see any photo that was taken almost instantly right after the photo was taken. So very good for remote teams, architects and engineers, oftentimes for around the world, and don't get on job site very often. So great tool for them. I also like to really focus on the trade contractors with this. A tool like this allows them to really hammer home that progress has been made, and when it's time for when the bills come, progress payments are happening at the end of the month, this is your proof. You have photos with timestamps and locations. This is a great tool for ensuring that payments happen in a timely manner, and that there's no dispute over what work happened before or after the deadline for billing. So this is not just a general contractor tool. It's not just an owner tool. It is a tool for all the contractors on the job site to utilize. A little bit more about how this works, the HoloBuilder interface. It allows you to do capture photos of the same location on your job site in a repeatable fashion. And they come up as a waypoint, you'll see as a yellow dot on the little map. And when you click on it, you can actually do a side-by-side. You'll see that these are two photos that were taken in the same location at different points in time. This is great for, I can look at the right-hand side and I might be able to tell, okay, this is where my ceiling grid is lining up to. What's behind the wall here, or however you might be looking for it. You need to know what's behind the wall. Using the side-by-side view, you can actually see what's behind it, and you can see it in the full context of the current situation with the drywall already hung and ceiling grid going in. So very cool tool, and we have built on this quite a bit that I'm going to dig into deeper after we talk about point clouds. So the mobile LiDAR with our Sitescape app, this was another recent acquisition that I think is just a great addition to the portfolio. It's perfect because it's always in your pocket. Everybody's always got their phone on them. They always have their iPad. They're using the iPad for drawings. These are very commonplace tools now. And now with the app, you don't have to have any extra hardware. So the technology in this consumer device has just come such a long way that with that, the LiDAR enablement on the phone there, you can actually get these 3D point clouds, and you can collect it almost as fast as a photo. So as easy as it is to walk into a mechanical room, maybe see a piece of equipment, you can walk around with the app and you're collecting actual 3D data. The accuracy of it is dependent on the phone LiDAR, and I'm very confident that it's going to get much better in the coming months or year or two. But right now, it is a great way to get great context of a room. You can pull measurements from it. There is a limited amount of accuracy that you're going to get from it. So I would definitely use this more as a fill in the gaps kind of workflow. One option, one way that I like to think of this is if I was a VDC manager or I was in charge of scanning operations for my company, and I went out to a job site, maybe I go scan with the Focus scanner or a GeoSLAM, any of those scanners. And as I'm scanning through the area, through the building, I get to an electrical room. The door's locked, and I'm not able to get in there on the day that I'm there. Not a big deal. I can scan everything else. And then the next day, I can have my superintendent or project manager who's there on site use his phone, go into the electrical room, do a quick scan. And now I have a 3D point cloud that I can register together with the larger scan and get the full context. I can see pipes, conduit, panels, everything as it is in that room, and still use that for coordination efforts. So it's a nice addition. I think it's a nice step improvement over a 360 photo because you get that full 3D context in the room.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more use and adoption of that process you just talked about. So many people are interested in the phone piece, but haven't dug into that workflow of how do I really actually go use it and bring the data back and tie it into coordinates. But I love talking about the phone as the piece that, it's always in your pocket, so you realize you approach something on site and you're like, hey, that's not supposed to be there. Or whatever that scenario is, most people at this point have iPhones, a large majority. And so for project teams to be able to pull it out for quick documentation, even though it is a little less accurate, it's in your pocket. You don't carry around the laser scanner all day. So I think that's going to be a great integration.
Yeah. Sometimes the best scanner is the one that you've actually got available to you, right?
Yep.
Doesn't matter if you've got the top of the line scanner, but it's hundreds of miles away.
Yeah.
Or if it's too much, you don't have time to go break out a tripod scanner. Maybe very, very short on time. This, in a lot of cases, is I like to call good enough. It's going to give you what you need for the time being.
And I know I see a couple questions when the iPhone thing popped up here, and you may touch on them later, so we don't have to dig in now. But if you'd let me know, will you talk about how that iPhone LiDAR would be integrated with terrestrial scans, or what that process might look like, and how you would register the two together?
Sure. So the way this is currently, you can export. I'll actually go a slide forward just so we have that animation here. But you would collect the actual scan data, which is very quick, as you can see here. This is the iPad. Once you complete your scan, you can view it, and then it gets uploaded to the server. Once it's up there, it does all the processing. It's going to register the scans together currently, the ones that are in Sitescape. You can do, I believe it's 3 scans, 3 or 5, depending on your package. And it will register them together, and you will have them available online. You can also, from the web browser, you can download it as a B57 and then use any of our software from Scene or Build It, or any third-party software as well. And you can register them together. They're compatible files. The most common file that people are using from the iPhone LiDAR is E57. Just about every software that deals with point clouds out there is going to accept an E57 file. So this will pretty smoothly work into just about anybody's workflow. So we do have a couple of new features that were released not very long ago for the Sitescape app. The first one I think is a great one. You can actually take a photo. So as you're scanning and collecting your 3D point cloud data, and you can stop right there and in the app, take a high quality, high resolution photo with your iPhone. You might think, well, why would I want a photo? I've already got a point cloud. Well, if you're going to go in and scan an electrical room, for instance, scanning the whole room, you're not going to be able to read the labels on the breaker panels or an equipment tag just in the point cloud. It's tough to read that kind of detail, even on a very high quality scanner. Using the photo, you can just take a picture of your equipment tag or your panel tags, and now they're going to be embedded there in that location on the point cloud. So everybody you share that with is going to have access to an actual 2D photo in the correct location that's corresponding with equipment in the room. So I think that is just a great improvement that makes this a much more viable tool for a lot of situations. The other one is called Order BIM. This was released a few months ago. Now, right in the app, you scan a room, say you've got pipes, conduit, an electrical panel, and you want to have this modeled into a BIM model, so you can pull it into Navisworks or Revit, AutoCAD, whatever you're using. You can actually order a service to have that point cloud modeled into model objects and delivered to you. This is a great option for, say, firms that don't do internal modeling and want to get into it, but this is a really good way to get, of course, with low upfront costs for hardware and having it out kind of modeled for you. It's a great way to get into that workflow. It's probably the simplest scan to BIM workflow available anywhere. So jumping from our smallest area scanning piece of equipment, we're going to jump up to our largest area, which is the GeoSLAM. The GeoSLAM scanning is for the large areas. I mentioned at the beginning, I would use this at the beginning of a project to figure out my logistics, distance I have for setback from roadways, and where I'm going to set up maybe an on-site batch plant or whatever I may need for that project to be built. It is, I said, it's less than an inch of accuracy, so pretty good, especially for how fast it is. It can even be mounted onto a drone and flown around, or I've got a picture here, a backpack option for walking through areas, maybe walking down hallways and collecting all that data. This is, it's colorized point cloud, of course. I have an example of one here spinning around. It's, this scan here would have only taken a few minutes. It's about as fast as you can walk around an area is how fast you can capture this data at a really good, clean resolution. With this, you can pull it in. You can, of course, do cut and fill analysis. And one of the other options is you can use it to create floor plans. So a lot of times right now, we're talking with a lot of the big box retailers that are doing renovations. It's a very common topic that we hear from them, that maybe the building's been around for 20 years and they've lost all of their as-builts, or they never had them. Now for their remodel, they need a floor plan that actually represents where all the aisles are located, where all the rooms are. Something like this is a great way to create those floor plans as well. And of course, just like with Sitescape, you can export to an E57, bring it into our software, and register it with any of our other scans. So the whole ecosystem likes to work together in a way that is consistent. You're not using multiple softwares. Terrestrial scanner, I mentioned before, our flagship terrestrial scanner now is the Focus Premium. This one is really best when you pair it up with our Stream app. So the Stream app is our tool that is allowing you to pre-register your scans as you collect them, which is, for anybody that has done scanning before we had this kind of visibility, this is a huge improvement into the, I'll almost say, kind of a mystery of where have I scanned and what data have I collected. This gives you the full visibility, as you can see here. I have my colleague that was scanning, and you can see as the data comes in, it registers automatically, and it shows you exactly where you've been. So you're seeing a top-down view of this building, and we know that we've got this room covered pretty good, and he would keep working his way around. The great thing that I like about this, about Stream, is its connection to Sphere. Sphere is our web platform where we can do processing of point clouds and sharing, annotating, and of course, viewing through a web browser. Using the Stream app, you're able to upload your scan directly from the job site. So finish collecting your data, connect to a Wi-Fi connection on job site, and you can push your entire project up to the cloud and allow it to process in the cloud. So the great thing about this is no longer, if I'm going to send somebody out to go do some scanning, I don't have to send them with a huge BIM laptop to be able to process the data and then upload it. I'm actually able to just send them with a scanner and an iPad or even an iPhone, and they can do the same thing. So at the end of their day, they can upload, and before they're even back to the office, I have access to the data, and I can see exactly what they've got done. So very cool tool, and I think this is a big improvement in the workflow that we've got.
That's awesome. Can I throw a quick question in there? Would it just be based on, internet speed as to if you were doing a lot of scans, you're on site and you have 50 or you have 100 or 2, what does that look like time wise to actually get those uploaded or pushed?
So it is definitely very dependent on your internet speed that you've got. But it's going to be, say, to get all the way pushed up, I think our average is about 30 seconds to a minute or so per scan.
Okay.
Kind of on an average internet connection. You can do it over cellular too if you've got a really good plan. If you were just throwing your iPad in the passenger seat of your truck as you're driving back and let it upload, you can totally do that. But yeah, it will upload on its own, and I'd say it's about 30 seconds to a minute to upload them, and then the processing on the back end will start automatically. So normally this is something you would have to import onto a laptop, process, do the registration. It's going to tie up your computer for hours and hours. And now with this, you've got it all happening in the cloud. So you're free to go about the rest of your job.
Awesome.
So I am going to start moving a little bit quicker here, but I did mention the speed stuff. I think we've had a couple of great improvements to the Focus Premium since it's released. One was our ability with the PanoCam. Some of you have probably seen it before. We have improved it quite a bit, but this allows you with the PanoCam attachment with the Ricoh Theta camera, you can add color to any one of your scan profiles for only a 2-second extra scan time, which is great for if you want to do, I like to call it color for context. The image resolution from it is not as good as the internal camera, but it gives you a great idea of what you're looking at in that colorized point cloud. The real improvement was the most recent one here, and this is with Flash technology. So we have actually paired up that Stream app and the Ricoh Theta with the Focus Premium. And we're now able to get really high quality color and high density point clouds in only 28 seconds. This is a huge improvement over any scan profile that we've had. Just for context too, the base premium scanner for a comparable resolution and quality and point cloud density for all of these is going to be about 3 minutes and 17 seconds for the base scan in color, which is pretty good. That's still a 50% improvement over the previous generation of scanner. You add a PanoCam, now you can do it in 1 minute and 30 seconds. With Flash technology, you're getting it for 28 seconds. So huge improvement. It's gotten so fast now that I've found that the scanner is not usually the issue. It's usually the operator. Usually they get distracted looking at something else and the scan's already been done for a minute. So this is a great improvement, and I would like to show you an example of what that looks like. So this is one Flash scan, 28 seconds to get this. You can do this with the Stream app. Take this photo. This is not actually a 360 photo. This is colorized point cloud data that we're looking at here. So very good quality for especially for how fast it is. Have an example of the overall time that we've been able to save, or this time to consumption. We have one example here that is a facility that we scanned prior to the new Focus and Flash technology being released. So we had a facility we were scanning. They needed very accurate data. So the Focus was the scanner of choice for the accuracy that they needed. It was a complete facility, and It took 144 scans to get through this. With the team and restricted access areas, it took them 4 days. And after they left the site, after those 4 days, it took 9 hours of additional work at the back office. This is with our previous workflow. Now, utilizing the flash technology, getting the same number of scans, 144 scans, it only took half of a day. And the other the big time savings as well is that delivery time. Went down from 9 hours to 2 hours. And a lot of that can be attributed to being able to upload straight to Sphere and let the processing happen on the back end. It's happening while you're still just driving back from your job site. So huge time savings, and especially for facility owners and situations like this where you're going to be doing large areas, maybe repetitive scans, maybe every year, every month, you're doing updates to your facility. This is a great improvement. It makes it much more feasible to do more scans, which is everybody would like to do. Now, as I mentioned, that is largely to do with our Faro Sphere integration with this, being able to push it up, do the processing in the cloud, sharing it almost instantly. As soon as it's up to the cloud, you can share it and view it. That is working with this whole the whole life cycle here, this whole design, build, and operate life cycle. So I do have just a quick few little emblems of which, or little icons of which software or which hardware we would actually use at the different processes here. You'll notice we've got Sitescape with the phone, or the iPhone LiDAR, mostly used up front. Architects are a very big user of Sitescape. They like it for their design and coordination of remodels, of course. And then as we get through the process of building, we start using the more accurate scanners for prefabrication and QA and QC. And it just circles back around. So like I said at the very beginning, reality capture is not a linear process. It is a cycle. You're going to continue to update your data and keep moving, keep using old data, comparing it to new data. So back to the slide, I told you it would return. We've talked about the collection side. We know we've got so many more options now, and speed has been cut dramatically. But what are we going to actually do with that data? Well, a lot of people would like to use the scan to BIM process. If you're using Revit or AutoCAD, then we have a plugin called As-Built. It has been getting some great improvements lately, but As-Built, like I said, it's a plugin for Revit. It allows you to use the point cloud data to actually model pipe, conduit, fittings, and valves, as well as structure, like this wide flange beam here, and it will identify them as the size that it is in reality and allow you to model to it with Revit families. So this is a great tool for actually creating a point cloud into a full-blown coordination model, or an as-built model, or however you want to use it. The best improvement that we've got to this lately is the addition of ductwork. So you can now model ductwork right in Revit based off of your point cloud. And if anybody that's dealt with ductwork knows they go up, down, they change, all the sizes are always changing, they flatten out and go over pipes. And that's actually a very tough one to model, but we now have that feature and ability to do that. So highly recommend that for every Revit or Autodesk user. Now for the point cloud analysis side, I touched on it with, the first slide of what do you want to do with it? We have Build It for construction software. I think this is probably one of our most comprehensive softwares that we have as far as analysis goes. It's great for comparing point clouds. So if I took a point cloud from a month ago and I compared it to today, I could compare and see if there was any changes, and it's going to highlight it in a similar form to this heat map that you see on the bottom right. You can actually use this software to compare to your BIM model as well. So if you have a mechanical room with your pipe running everywhere, you can scan it and then bring in your actual coordinated signed off BIM model and then run an analysis. And it will tell you everywhere that a pipe is missing, somewhere that maybe a pipe is not sloped at a proper pitch for drainage. All those things. It will tell you exactly how your as-built point cloud differs from your coordination model. So this is a great tool. This is actually also the best tool for using or for doing heat maps of floor flatness. We do this quite a lot on wet and dry concrete. I'll talk about our other app as well, but basically giving you a heat map that shows you the high and low points of a slab. And you can also do this in the same process with a surface deviation analysis for elevator hoistways or walls that you want to make sure are plumb. I have actually used software, used it for this exact purpose on an elevator hoistway on a job site, and we found there was a big depression on the elevator hoistway right where one of the rails was supposed to mount to. So finding these things early on saves a lot of time on the back end when that elevator contractor shows up and wants to install. So very cool tool, has a lot of different features and functions. Now, our newest release here is our integration for HoloBuilder, called Point Cloud Management. So we talked about it, bringing all these different pieces together. Well, this is a great example of how we've done that. Within HoloBuilder, if you're a HoloBuilder user, you can now have the ability to upload point clouds directly onto your project. You'll see it just like you're seeing here. You'll have all of your 360 photos available to you in that same time travel format, so you can jump back in time. You can also do the same thing now with point clouds. So I can have a point cloud taken every month, and I can compare July's point cloud to August point cloud. I can see the difference. This is very, very cool tool and really a great way for people that have gotten into HoloBuilder and using 360 photos in their workflows, but want to take that next step and start bringing, measurement accuracy point clouds into it. It works with any scanner. So completely hardware agnostic. E57 files upload straight into the platform, and will work just fine. So highly recommend trying that out. If you have a point cloud and you're using HoloBuilder, this is a great way to share the data and democratize it, like we said before. So giving everybody access to it. All you need is a web browser, no software needed. Now, one of the last things we've got here is another example of our crushing that time to consumption that we're always chasing. We have a Flatness check app. We can use this on wet and dry concrete, and all you need is an iPad and your Focus Premium scanner. Go out on a job site. The scanner will do all the iPad will do all of the controls of the scanners for you. You don't have to mess with any settings. It guides you through the whole process. Very easy to follow the steps. And within less than 5 minutes, you can do a scan, create a heat map analysis, and see almost instantly where the high and low points are on that slab. It's so fast, you can actually do this on wet concrete. Works quite well. I've done it. You can actually identify where your high points are in your wet concrete. And then as your finishers are coming over and doing their final finish, if you got a high point, they can just level that out a little bit. Saves a lot of time on the back end. If you don't have to come back and grind it, this is a much better option. Another thing that I really like to use this for is if I do have an issue, maybe after the concrete has already dried, I find out that I've got a high point that I'm going to have to come back and grind. Well, traditional methods are not the most accurate. You might have to come out with a total station and actually shoot in that location of where that high point is so that the grinder knows where to do his work. Using this, I can actually use the augmented reality function on the iPad and walk around on the slab. And I'm completely immersed in the analysis data. I can walk over, I can stand directly on top of that high point and mark it down by my feet with a can of spray paint. So put a dot there, mark on it that it's a 1/4 inch too high. Now when they come back with the grinder, they know right where to go. There's no errors. There's no time trying to figure out where to go. So we've added a lot of features to this one as well, just over the last couple months. One I think is the greatest is our benchmark elevation. It will now identify targets so that you can do repeatable analysis off of the same benchmark elevation. I usually go out there, I find wherever my contractor has snapped a benchmark elevation on a shear wall somewhere, and I tape my target right over top of it. Now I know exactly where that is, and when I run my analysis, I can come back time and time again and do repeat analysis to make sure the work has been fixed. We can also overlay floor plans in the augmented reality view, which is great for walking around and really knowing what room you're in, what rooms have issues. Not every room is as critical as the rest of them, right? So maybe you don't have an issue at all. That's a great way to see that. Cut and fill analysis as well. And then what this video just showed is the measure tool. I can select 2 points and it's going to tell me the slope between those 2 points and how long that line that I just drew is. This is great for the general contractors, I think, as well, because we're always dealing with Americans with Disability Act code requirements for ramps. This is a great way to scan that, hit 2 points, and now it'll tell you exactly where your slope is on that ramp. You know if you're going to meet, if you're going to pass or fail that inspection before the inspector gets there. This can be a huge time-saving tool. Jump through this. Just a reminder, it's always a balancing act, right? Speed and accuracy and what you want to do with it. Choosing the right tool for the job is what you need to do. Now I will do a quick plug. We have the Faro Build and Brews tour. Actually tomorrow is going to be in San Diego, California. I will be there. That's Thursday, July 13th at 4:00. If you're in the area, we'd love to see you out there. You can sign up on our website, and we'd love to see you there. And we also have our upcoming first user conference, the Faro Signals Conference, going to be in just outside of Chicago, Illinois in October. And we are open to presenters and anybody that might want to be an exhibitor. So looking forward to this one. It's going to be a great event as well. With that, do you have any questions, Matt?
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you for the walkthrough. Like I said, I think earlier, just it's exciting to see the variety of hardware, the integration, more of a focus on the right tool for the job, because I feel like that's been one of the challenges in the industry is, new people come in and they have the big question mark of where do I start and what's the right tool for my need? And, how accurate is this one? And, how do I get to the analysis? How do I use the data? So, great to see the improvements you guys are making and the changes. There definitely are some questions. I'll go ahead and bring in a few of them. Let's start with within the tools that you talked about. Do any of your softwares have any automatic floor plan creation tools from any of the either terrestrial or mobile scanners?
So with the GeoSLAM plugin would be the best tool for that. If you just want a 2D output, I would use a GeoSLAM scanner for that. You can export it to a PDF, then you're going to get just a regular floor plan of. You could also do it with the focus scanner, but I would say that's probably a little bit overkill. And for the speed, you can't beat the GeoSLAM.
Awesome. Another one, there was an ask about which software was used for the modeling in Revit, which that was the Faro as-built software. And in fact, that might even have additional tools as well to assist with drafting and modeling if you are looking at, that type of creation, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So it's called the as-built suite because it is a suite of tools that allows you to do just that. Turn a point cloud into a more manipulatable and usable model. is comprised of individual objects, pipes, fittings, all of those things that you don't normally get with just a point cloud.
Yeah, that's great.
It's all the information, right? BIM information.
Yep. Another question that came up back when we were talking about the flash technology and the 28-second scan is that a reduced resolution, or is it still capture? How many points does that scan end up with? Is it still the 11.8 million, or is that faster scan a lower resolution?
It is going to be a similar resolution to the 1/5 resolution that we use. That's what we consider our standard profile, and I believe it's 30 million.
Okay,
it's in that range. So that those times that I gave you for each of those scans were for roughly that same number of points being collected.
That's impressive. I think some people posing the question would have maybe assumed that fast would be a lot lower resolution.
It's a question I actually get quite a bit about.
Yeah.
That. So it is not a low resolution scan. It is a very dense output.
That's awesome. Another question is, when it comes to the quick deviation scan, is there an ability to share a report from that?
Okay. I believe that's probably referring to the Build It software.
Probably.
With the floor deviation as well as the elevator hoistway I talked about. And the answer is yes. You can export it as the visual heat map, as we call it, but you can also export a full report that meets ASTM 1155 standards for floor flatness and floor level, just in the exact same format that you're used to seeing out of a dipstick or a floor profiler. We can meet that same standard with this. But we also have other standards. ASTM is the most common here in the US, but we have international standards that we have as well.
Great. There were a couple questions around. Could you share a little bit about which of the features that you maybe showed with Stream and the app that are compatible with any of the older Faro scanners, or is all of that functionality have to have the new premium scanner?
So our previous generation scanner was the Focus S. You can use the PanoCam, not with the flash, but just the PanoCam. You can use that feature on one of our previous generation scanners. And you can also use Stream as well. It comes included with the premium scanner when you purchase a new one. It is a small upcharge to add Stream functionality to an older scanner.
Okay, but then they could still use the S series and have the functionality of using Stream in the field for that registration process.
Absolutely. Yep. And you can still upload straight to Sphere and have all of that. But doing that, really, you have most of the same features. You just don't get the huge time improvement.
Yeah. And there was one more that actually throughout. They have a scanner back to the X330 series. Would it work for that as well, or?
The Stream, I don't believe that it will be compatible.
Okay.
I would, I'm going to say I don't think it is, but I would recommend that we reach out to whoever that is. Reach out to me or your local account manager and confirm that.
Awesome. Well, I think there were a couple other small questions, but that really summarized most of them. But as you just mentioned now, I'm sure that anybody who has questions about how they operate, the hardware, the software capabilities, I'm sure that you guys would be happy to connect with them and share more details. So we will make sure that there are easy access links that you can reach out and get a hold of the right team at Faro for more conversations if you have them following up. So Kyle, is there anything else you'd like to share as we wrap up today?
Just want to say, we'll share my email, and our account managers are always willing to reach out help you through workflows. It's what I'm also here to do as well, help work with our users and make sure that they're using the right tool for the job, and see how we can streamline it as much as possible. So please feel free to reach out to me with questions. Besides that, Matt, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you again for joining, for sharing, and thanks everybody who joined us live and those who watch this as a recording later. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for joining today, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.